We are not just residents of Washington County. We are its stewards, and we want to leave it as beautiful and productive for future generations as it is today.
People living in Washington County are trying to figure out the best steps forward for the future, a future that could involve data centers, which are becoming more in demand to support the use of artificial intelligence. More than 3,000 data centers have been built across the country, a handful of which are in Idaho. And in each building, they require a great deal of power, water, and land. In the small towns that make up Washington County, some of that land is already being advertised specifically for the use of a data center, like this acreage along the Snake River in Weiser. Knipe Land Company writes it may be an ideal location for a variety of high-tech industrial and energy projects, end quote. It's not just Washington County. Other rural areas like Payette are home to land that's on the market as a potential AI campus. A lot of this acreage sits on agricultural land. It neighbors other farms and people who have opted for a quiet life in the state's rural corners. So one of the reasons why county leaders have a drafted ordinance that will create regulations if a company buys that land to build a data center. About a dozen people showed up last night to testify on the ordinance. Some of those residents say it goes too far, possibly violating private property rights. But for those against big tech for moving in, it doesn't go far enough. Cooper Morgan explains.
In rural ag towns, there are few sounds. The rustle of wind in the fields, the spray of sprinklers, and there's something you can't see, the family history.
My mom works at an onion packing facility. My grandpa still works in the field, so definitely agriculture is a huge part of my life.
Daniel Olivo says it's rooted deep.
Grandparents were seasonal migrant farm workers that were born in Mexico and would migrate to the U.S. to work seasonally, work in the field.
But now Olivo and his neighbors are focused on something new, a proposed data center ordinance, and what it could mean for Weiser's future.
I just don't want it to come home. I don't want it here.
Washington County says they need rules in place, an ordinance, before any company can build.
Doing nothing, however, is not a safe option.
With a new ordinance, the county says it sits in a far stronger position.
The question tonight is not simply whether you support or oppose data centers. It is how Washington County can best protect its residents, its agricultural economy, its water and natural resources.
The first draft states all centers need a special use permit.
The bottom line is you're saying, yes, you can do business here. You just have to find a way to make it palatable. And I'm saying the easiest way to make it palatable is not to have it.
Build on a minimum of 100 acres and 2 miles away from any subdivisions or a mile from schools.
I don't think that's far enough.
Olivo's top concerns, water pollution and the system the center would use for cooling.
If the water is being polluted after the loop, where is that water going? Is that going to sink into our water supply and affect our crops?
Another, the unknown long-term effects to the area around data centers.
How is that going to affect our health, our children's health? Like I said, Weiser is a small agricultural town, so how is that going to affect our crops? How is that going to affect our livestock?
What could be done about it?
Needs to be complete and correct and protect the county and the citizens. The current draft doesn't do either of those.
For Olivo, advertising that suggests a data center can just move in willy-nilly hurts.
And yeah, it's just very frustrating. It feels like we're being sold without our consent, and I don't like that.
Especially when he's heard the water, the rustle of corn, and a way of life passed down through generations.
Property rights play a major role in why commissioners drafted this ordinance. They feel with a code in place, this county is again in a stronger position to regulate how and where these data centers are built. If they just say no and deny every application to build, there's a chance these companies could appeal and it could get tied up in a lawsuit on the county's dime. As for this ordinance, commissioners opted to keep this discussion going and take people's feedback back to the drawing board. They plan to hold another special hearing to go over the ordinance draft in the future, Hunter.
Okay, so when they're talking about this drafted ordinance, was there any discussions about advertising when it comes to land and AI centers?
There was a good amount of just, the advertising that is already existing, and just a lot of the people there were frustrated with that, especially considering there's not those rules in place already.
Yeah.
The commissioners, again, going back to the drawing board to figure out exactly how they can deal with that. That infrastructure really needs to come before they allow sorts of sales like these, is what a lot of these people said.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, something that's still early. They have time to draft it, time for people to get your voices heard if you want it. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, first step in the process. So.
Yeah, Cooper, thank you.